Rein is a useless beast tamer who has no value, except to act as an errand boy for his other party members. After being fired for being so useless, he begins looking for work as an adventurer. He then stumbles upon a rare cat spirit whom he saves and eventually tames. As a result, he gets stronger and continues his journey. Rein is in a meeting with the hero's party where he was fired because they all think he is pathetically useless. Each member explains to him how worthless he is, as they're constantly saving him while he contributes virtually nothing to the party. Rein then realizes that he has been a burden to them all along. Accepting his fate, he leaves his cloak and walks out of the room. After being fired, he goes to the town and thinks about all the times they showed no care for him. He worries because he is broke, and now without a job, meaning he has to start afresh. 3 children interrupt his thinking, asking him if he has finished his work with the party he was in. Ashamed to answer, he looks away instead. The children ask him to show them his beast taming abilities. To answer their request, he tames a bird that is flying nearby and makes it bow to them in greeting. The kids are impressed, and they all say they want to be a beast tamer like him. The kids talk excitedly about being adventurers, and that gives Rein an idea to become one himself so he can earn a living. He goes to the Adventurers Guild to begin his journey as an adventurer. When he arrives, he meets Natalia, a pretty receptionist with big melons. She is nice to him and answers his questions about being an adventurer. After finding out that he is a beast tamer, she gets worried and tells him to be careful since he is alone. She then gives him a trial quest, as is mandatory for first-timers, to see if he is capable of being an adventurer. Rein's first task is to slay 10 goblins and gather 20 medicinal herbs. Rein uses his power as a beast trainer and gets a squirrel to locate the goblins. He engages them and easily defeats the weak F-ranked goblins. As he is taking his loot to go and gather the medicinal herbs, he hears a scream inside the forest. He runs to investigate the source and finds a stranger cornered by a D-ranked monster. He jumps in to save the stranger, using a knife to try and stab it. The knife breaks, and he is pushed back because a weakling like him cannot possibly fight against such a monster. The monster switches its attention to him, and he uses the opportunity to shout to the stranger to run away. The stranger instead regains her feet and uses the last of her strength to defeat the monster with a single blow. Rein is shocked, and he asks her who she is. After inspecting her properly, he realizes that she is a rare cat spirit, which is one of the ultimate beings in their world. Just then, she falls as the monster vanishes, and he catches her in his arms, asking if she's okay. She replies that she is hungry. Fortunately, he had some traveling rations, and he proceeds to give her some, which she eats up happily. She tells him how thankful she is because she hasn't eaten anything in days. They introduce themselves and tell each other about their background and how they ended up in the forest. The cat spirit, Kinnaid, tells him about her boring village, hidden in the mountains, and her desire to explore the world. Rein tells her about how he was fired from the hero's party. After hearing his story, she gets mad about how he was treated, but Rein calms her down, pats her, and rubs her on the head. Kinnaid tells him that he isn't useless because he is really good at being a beast tamer, and that actually makes him really strong. She tells him that from the moment she saw him, she felt he was capable of taming her. She then proposes an idea, saying that Rein can try and tame her. Rein considers this, doubting if he is indeed capable of taming a cat spirit. He concludes that it'll be very useful if he tames a cat spirit, and that he would also like to know Kinnaid better. He tells Kinnaid that he is ready to give it a try, and this gets her happy and excited. He uses his blood to begin casting the spell that binds her to him. She confirms the spell by saying her name. After it is done, a symbol appears on her right hand, signifying the bond between the two of them. They shake hands, and Kinnaid pulls him to begin their journey together. Rein completes his trial quest and submits the items at the Adventurers Guild. Natalia, the receptionist with the big melons, tells him that he has passed the trial and is now a recognized F-ranked adventurer. She gives him an identification card and asks him to keep it safe. She also hands him 50 copper coins as a reward for the task he completed, explaining that he will earn more as he progresses through the ranks. She wishes him good luck and bids him farewell. Rein meets up with Kinnaid, who waits for him like an ever-obedient puppy. As he tells her he is now an adventurer, she is very happy for him and congratulates him. Before they can set out to find more jobs, they are confronted by another adventurer with a scar across his brow. The adventurer tries to rizz up Kinnaid and tells her to have a drink with him. He calls Rein a runt, and this triggers Kinnaid, who defends Rein and says he is much stronger than him. The adventurer laughs at this and challenges Rein to an arm wrestling contest, saying whoever wins will get to keep Kinnaid. Rein doesn't want him to bother Kinnaid in the future, so he accepts the challenge. As they begin, Rein immediately wins, and causes the adventurer's hand to break through the table. Rein is surprised at his strength, and Kinnaid declares him the winner. Natalia, the receptionist, shows up and apologizes to Rein about the adventurer's behavior. The adventurer, who is in pain on the floor, grabs the edge of her skirt, and she responds by smacking a table on his pathetic, ugly face. She then asks Rein how he ends up taming an ultimate beast. Her tone is strict as she says it, and it makes Rein and Kinnaid afraid of her. She sees they are shocked at her tone, and she readjusts her voice. She bids them farewell and drags the adventurer's body away like a log of wood. Rein asks Kinnaid how he has such strength. She then explains to him that taming an ultimate beast like herself amplifies his strength and makes him more powerful as he is her master. This amazes Rein as no one in his home had ever tamed an ultimate being. Kinnaid tells him she is thankful that he protected her, and they set off to get a job. The job they end up getting involves gathering more herbs. Kinnaid complains that it is a menial job, and Rein explains to her that it is because he is still an F-ranked adventurer and he'll have to move up the ranks to get better jobs. Kinnaid hears yelling and screams from a distance. They both set off to investigate. Once they arrive, they find a crooked old man who is cornered by the Ebon Fangs, who are a gang notorious for doing awful things. They plan to take all the wares from the old man. Rein declares that he wants to save the man. Kinnaid agrees, and they get ready to attack. Rein takes care of the Ebon Fang members while Kinnaid goes to save the old man. As she watches Rein fight off all the gang members, she gets worried about him and wonders if he'll be okay adjusting to his new power. As she continues watching, she concludes that she is being worried for no reason. Rein notices that Kinnaid's face is redder than the surface of Mars, and asks if she was hurt. Kinnaid, however, denies the fact, and the old man speaks out to thank the two for their help. The old man then explains that a group of adventurers were hired to protect him. However, they fled when the bandits arrived. Briefly contemplating over it, Rein decides to deliver divine judgment on the rest of the Ebon Fangs, much to Kinnaid's surprise. En route to their destination, Rein temporarily contracts some animals around the surrounding area to scout out the Ebon Fangs. He also explains to Kinnaid his reason for wanting to deal with the remaining Ebony Fangs members and assures her that he has a plan to do so. Soon, they reach the Ebony Fangs hideout, and Kinnaid is dejected that a temporary contracted animal once again beats her to the punch of an important task. Rein then apologizes to Kinnaid, who is astonished that Rein could tame an insect despite being a beast tamer. He tells Kinnaid that back in his home village, he learned the basics of the Tamer subclass insect taming for a while. As astonished as Kinnaid was, she's ordered to return to the town and get some reinforcements while he has the RBs handle the Ebony Fang members. The reinforcements that Rein wanted were called the Order of Knights, a group tasked by the government to uphold peace in the lands. Understanding her task, Kinnaid leaves, and a swarm of RBs arrives, and Rein forms a temporary contract with them all. Elsewhere, 2 of the 3 adventurers who were tasked with protecting the old man earlier turn out to be Rein's old comrades, Mina and Leanne. The 2 curse their situation, and how Arios and Agath were sucking it up with the nobility while they decided to take on jobs as adventurers. They then redirect their frustrations to the beast tamer they were partnered with, blaming their situation on his inadequacy as a beast tamer. However, in his defense, the beast tamer claims that the demands of the 2 were far too complex for him to accomplish. He also claims that their notion that a beast tamer can tame over 20 animals is impossible, which Leanne considers to be a lie, and holds the beast tamer responsible for their failure. The beast tamer flees faster than Usain Bolt at the Olympics after being threatened by Leanne to take responsibility for their failure. She internally refuses to believe that Rein is any higher than the garbage she thought him to be. Returning to Rein's side, his RBs deal with the remaining Ebony Fangs members, and Kinnaid arrives with reinforcements. As the reinforcements handle the paralyzed bandits, Rein notices that only adventurers are there and not a single member of the Knights of Order. One of the reinforcements reveals that the Knights of Order had no time to deal with a bunch of cut purses. At that moment, a trio of Berserk King lizards break through their wooden cage and attack the Ebon Fang members, and then Rein. Through the combined efforts of Rein and Kinnaid, they manage to take down the monsters, allowing the adventurers to carry the Ebony Fang members out of the area. Eventually, Rein and Kinnaid exit the Ebony Fang's base, with Kinnaid holding onto the King Lizard's magical stones, and they're then praised for their accomplishments by their fellow adventurers. The praise sits well with Rein, who recalls being kicked out of Ario's party for being useless, no good shut-in, and is thankful for Kinnaid's help.
Although Kinnaid was elated that they have actual beds to sleep on,
Rein, who is an innocent virgin, was flabbergasted that they have to share a room together thanks to the innkeeper. Despite his apprehension, Rein agrees to share the room with Kinnaid for the night, and as Rein sleeps, she contemplates how fortunate she is to have been found by Rein. A week passes since Rein first met with Kinnaid, and his mind he contemplates his enjoyment of the laid-back adventuring lifestyle he and Kinnaid have been living thus far. From the Adventurers Guild, they learn from Natalie that a hooligan has taken refuge at Stride Bridge and pick fights with anyone who tries to cross the bridge. Being a low-level scum adventurer, he is lured by the 5 gold rewards. Rein accepts the quest and immediately heads to the bridge with Kinnaid. Shortly after they arrive, a red dragon flies overhead, lands close to the two, transforms into a female humanoid, and proclaims its desire to fight them. Surprised that the red dragon is really a woman, Rein asks if she's the noted guard dog of the bridge, which she confirms and introduces herself as Tanya, a dragonoid. Apparently, Tanya was using the bridge as a training ground for training, and Kinnaid explains to Rein that it's a form of pilgrimage to dragonoids, and Tanya confirms it. Tanya then openly challenges the two to a match, and both Rein and Kinnaid agree to her challenge. The battle starts with Tanya throwing a punch at Rein, who barely defends against it. Impressed by this feat, Tanya then breathes fire at the two, setting Kinnaid's tail on fire. Because of this, Kinnaid fights against Tanya, and Rein watches in amazement at how Kinnaid can fight against Tanya on equal footing. To help Kinnaid, Rein tries to attack Tanya, but she catches Rein as he soars in the air, grabs Kinnaid, and throws them into the air like worthless paperweights, preparing to breathe fire at them again. However, they manage to dodge the attack by working together, earning Tanya's praise. Noting the difficulty of facing off against Tanya and how he needs to fight like a beast tamer, Rein asks Kinnaid to buy him 3 minutes to prepare. Without hesitation, Kinnaid agrees to help and faces off against Tanya as Rein forms a temporary contract with the bird and asks it to call for reinforcements. After this, Rein takes over, and with the birds he contracted, they attack Tanya, who becomes immobilized after they attack her. Rein then reveals that the birds are called Pito, and their plumage is poisonous. Tanya surrenders, incapable of fighting further, and Rein asks her to come with them. Questioning what would happen if she refused, Rein answers that he doesn't know but comments on what a fix he'd be in if Tanya doesn't comply. Amused by the response, Kinnaid pokes Tanya into submission, making her agree to the demand. Afterward, Rein and Kinnaid report back to Natalie at the Adventurers Guild, and before Tanya can introduce herself, Rein stops her and abruptly leaves the guild in a hurry. Outside, Tanya draws attention to herself like a New York City advertisement board, and both Rein and Kinnaid stop her from revealing she's a dragonoid. On the outskirts of town, Tanya is disciplined by Rein, who allows her to leave, but admonishes her from starting any trouble again after this. However, Tanya, who had taken a liking to Rein, suggests that he tames her as well, to which he begrudgingly agrees and forms a contract with her. That night in town, Arios complains about his team's wasted efforts in the Lost Woods they spent trying to fight against monsters. With Leanne and the others complaining that Rein's old tasks were a burden on the group, Arios decides to recruit Rein back into the group, only to dump him again after they complete their quest. Meanwhile, as Rein sleeps on the floor, Kinnaid and Tanya, being idiotic simps, argue about which bed the other sleeps on, as one of the beds has a view of Rein as he sleeps. Rein explains that Slimes and his team were tasked with subjugating the monsters, which unsettles Kinnaid due to their stickiness whenever they're defeated. Tanya then boasts that she'll be able to defeat them all for her, which earns her Kinnaid's praise. Watching the scene unfold, Rein notes how happy he was about how the two were getting along. Time passes by, and the group cannot locate a swarm of Slimes. Hence, Rein uses one of his beast tamer skills on a bird called Assimilate to merge part of his soul with and control the bird to search for Slimes within the area. The feat astonishes the two hopeless simps, Tanya and Kinnaid, and after their outburst, Rein flies off to search for Slimes as the two watch over his body. Eventually, Rein locates the swarm of Slimes, and before they begin the job, Tanya asks Rein if he can use any magical spells. Rein answers that he can use Fireball and heal, which under Tanya's suggestion casts Fireball against the Slimes, eliminating every last one of them. The outcome astounds Rein and Kinnaid, but not Tanya, who explains that Rein's abilities have risen since making a contract with her. Just then, more Slimes appear at the scene, and, following Tanya's instructions, Rein learns how to control his magic better. Afterward, Tanya and Kinnaid talk to a little girl outside the Adventurers Guild, informing her that they successfully completed a slime subjugation quest. Rein then joins the two girls, and after a stroll through the town throughout the day that night, the group enjoys dinner at a restaurant. Once they're finished, Rein reveals the background of his home village and how it was lost one day due to a monster attack. A group of adventurers would eventually rescue Rein, and he was relocated to an inn where he worked his keep for years until Arios's group recruited him. He joined the group without hesitation, believing it'd be for the best, and would allow him to prevent the same tragedy that happened to his village. However, the group thought of him as a useless tag-along, leading to his dismissal from the hero's party. Hearing this sappy MC background tale saddens both Tanya and Kinnaid, but they note their fury against the hero's party for how they treated Rein, but he assures them that it's all behind him. The day after, Rein's group subjugates a bunch of orcs, one of which manages to stab Rein in his arm with a knife while trying to protect Tanya. Assuring her that he's fine, Rein then uses heal, not like redo of healer though, on himself that instantly heals the wound, and suggests they collect the magical ores the orc left behind and turn them into the Adventurers Guild. That afternoon, Rein does this and learns from Kinnaid that Tanya had wanted some time alone to herself. Tanya stood on a bridge, gazing at the flowing river water below, pondering whether or not she'd done the right thing, and then a little girl from the other day approached and talked to her. Tanya would have a brief heart-to-heart with the little girl that lifted her spirits. Soon, Rein finds Tanya, who formally apologizes to him for her actions earlier that day. On the other hand, Rein notes his relief for being able to find Tanya, and that night, Tanya realizes her feelings for Rein, but would flatly deny them as a fondness for him. The following day, after another successful quest was completed, Tanya suggested to Rein that they purchase new equipment, and Rein liked the idea. Before they're able to progress any further, Arios the Glorift bully and his party confront Rein on the road and give him a sarcastic greeting fitting of his pathetic weakling status. Rein immediately suggests they take a different route. Arios insults Rein as if they're in a roast battle, so Kinnaid and Tanya step in to defend their master. Tanya then questions Arios' group's identity as that of the hero party. Disliking Tanya's tone, Arios tries to rebuke her, but realizes that she and Kinnaid are, respectively, a dragonoid and cat spirit, who are two of the ultimate species. With Arios' party learning that they had been tamed by Rein, he then asks what business they have with him, and Arios claims that due to the difficulty of the Lost Woods, they had to withdraw from it. Hence, Arios offers Rein a chance, allowing him to rejoin his group despite his established uselessness. Agath, Leanne, and Mina then all comment that Rein should be grateful for them allowing him to rejoin their group. However, Rein refuses their offer, but Mina tries to convince him, claiming a relic called the Shield of Truth, located in the forest, would give them a fighting chance against the Demon King. Furthermore, Leanne mentions that monsters would swarm and attack settlements without that relic, which triggers memories of Rein's past. Under pressure, Rein quietly agrees to it, and Arios' group chastises him for not accepting it from the start. As Arios' group starts to walk off, both Kinnaid and Tanya stop the hero's party and demand that they properly apologize to Rein by groveling at his feet like harem slaves. The suggestion shocks the hero party, and Tanya threatens to turn them to barbecue with her breath if they don't voice their disdain at it. Grabbing Rein by the cuff of his collar, Arios demands that he keep his pets on a shorter leash, which upsets Rein. However, Arios insists on it, and tries to make him confess that they're not his pets, but insinuates they're nothing more than his playthings, causing Rein to punch Arios. With that, Arios challenges Rein and his tamed monsters to a duel to see who is stronger, and Rein accepts his challenge. In separate locations, Kinnaid faces off against Agath, Tanya faces off against Mina and Leanne, and Rein faces off against Arios. Kinnaid's fight starts first, and Agath is foolishly happy that he has the chance to fight against an ultimate species such as her, and Kinnaid vows to beat him up and make him apologize to Rein. On the other hand, Agath has no intention of doing so, hence Kinnaid starts the fight with a quick and powerful kick, followed by a flurry of punches. Agath manages to defend against the attacks with his broadsword, but is quickly overwhelmed by her attacks. Kinnaid then comments that Agath hasn't made a single move against her, which is surprising as he's part of the hero party. The remark triggers Agath, who finally counterattacks with his special move Hellfire and Brimstone Slash. However, Kinnaid easily deflects the attack. Furious by this turn of events, Agath proclaims he'll fight with his full strength, and Kinnaid proclaims she'll fight with half of her own. The revelation shocks Agath that Kinnaid hadn't been using even half of her strength thus far, and she quickly ends the fight with a single kick. Although she panics, thinking that she had completely annihilated him, he quickly recovers, and states that he deserved it for treating Rein the way he did. Elsewhere, Tanya faces off against Leanne and Mina, who openly claim she'd prefer fighting Arios than those two because they're worthless weaklings. Tanya's remark upsets the two mages, and they cast Gravity Burst and Holy Flare. By snapping her fingers, however, Tanya dispels the attacks. Thus, Leanne and Mina respectively cast Judgment Arrow and Red Crimson again. Tanya dispels the attacks with a snap of her fingers, and claims she used what is called Material Canceller. Refusing to believe that they've been beaten, Mina and Leanne cast multiple spells against Tanya. However, she dispels them with Material Canceller. To finish things off, Tanya casts the epic spell Ultimate End against the two, but she reveals it to be a fake-out, causing them to pass out. On Rein's side, he faces off against Arios, who forces him back with his swift swordplay. Despite this, however, Rein only takes minor scratches from the attacks, and notes how underwhelming the pressure Arios is giving off compared to Tanya. Rein then attacks Arios with a punch to the gut like prime Muhammad Ali, and Rein reveals that forming contracts with Kinnaid and Tanya granted him newfound power. Utilizing the knowledge he gathered from his observation of Arios, and with the help of an Arbi, Rein wins his fight against Arios. Moments later, Tanya and Kinnaid rush to Rein's side and happily embrace him, celebrating their victory. Rein and his party arrive in the dark and dreary Lost Woods, where the Shield of Truth is said to be located. A flashback reveals that after Arios' group was defeated by Rein's, they apologized for their quite atrocious and foolish misbehavior. Tanya also intimidates them into making their apology sound more sincere, and Rein, who has the soft heart of 1,000 saints, accepts their apology. With that out of the way, Arios explains the Shield of Truth's current situation within a monster's hands in the Lost Woods. Despite Kinnaid's and Tanya's rebukes of how Arios' tone of voice sounded as if he were still acting pompously, Rein nonetheless agrees to accept the task. In the present, Rein assures his two companions of the importance of finding the Shield of Truth for Arios' group. To start their search, Rein assimilates with a bird via a temporary contract to scope out the area, leaving Kinnaid and Tanya in charge of looking after his body. Immediately, Rein locates a pathway leading to their goal, but when they follow it, they get lost despite taking the correct path. Tanya casts Material Search to investigate the surrounding area and leads them to a tree emitting illusionary magic, where Tanya asks Kinnaid to knock it down. Before Kinnaid can, a disembodied voice demands they leave that place, and from the tree, a fairy appears before them. Although Rein tries to introduce himself and state his group's intention, the fairy refuses to listen and warns them that she'll expel them from the forest if they don't leave. Heeding this warning, Rein, Kinnaid, and Tanya flee back into the woods for their short, pathetic lives to discuss their encounter with the fairy. Kinnaid recalls that a monster inhabits the tree, and Tanya suggests they still break down the tree to remove its illusionary barrier. However, Rein insists he visit and talk with the fairy alone. Approaching the fairy again, Rein tries to start a conversation with her, who threatens to erase him from this worldly existence if he doesn't leave. On the other hand, Rein accepts the threat, as he's confident in his ability to negotiate with beasts. As he said, Rein takes and is hurt by the fairy's illusion arrows, perplexing her as Rein's actions contradict how she's known humans to act. Rein admits he's human, but not all of them are the same. But the fairy sends off a second barrage of illusion arrows only for Kinnaid and Tanya to protect Rein. Both of them then try to reason with the fairy, but get into an argument midway concerning Kinnaid's initial approach. Intrigued by the group, the fairy drops her hostility towards the group. Asking for Rein's name, Rein reveals it to the fairy, who, in turn, introduces herself as Sora and agrees to be merciful unto the weakling and to listen to their plea. From their conversation with Sora, they learned that the barrier blocks the entryway to the fairy village and that her people protect the Shield of Truth. Learning the Shield of Truth was needed to defeat the Demon King, Sora fetches and gives it to Rein. Despite Rein's offer to help her in return, Sora flatly rejects it, noting she was merely following the ancient pact between the fairies and the original hero. Once that was done, Kinnaid and Tanya tried and leave, but Rein returned to Sora and asked what was bothering her. Hesitant to answer, Sora is coaxed by Rein, Kinnaid, and Tanya to talk about her twin sister Runa and their job to protect and maintain the barriers that lead into the fairy village. All was well between the two until they exited the barrier for personal reasons and encountered a monster affiliated with the Demon King army. Rein then details that the monster Sora and her sister Runa encountered was called a Shadow Knight. Although weaker than an ultimate species like them, it has tricky characteristics, like magical nullification, meaning only physical attacks can harm it. Sora confirms it, and continues her story where the Shadow Knight demanded that she lower the barrier, but in fear, she fled and was told by the leader to abandon Runa. Hearing Sora's plea, Rein vows to help and rescue Runa from the Shadow Knight, causing Sora, who has now probably fallen head over heels, to embrace Rein tearfully. A flashback reveals Sora detailing the condition of Runa's release given by the Shadow Knight by lowering the barrier over the fairy village by sundown. Privy to this information, Rein's group heads to the Shadow Knight's location, but refuses to allow Sora to tag along as it'd break her deal with the monster. Reaching the Shadow Knight's location, Rein's group finds it sitting on a throne with Runa, and immediately Rein casts a fireball against it as a feint. It allows Kinade and Rein to land a few blows against the Shadow Knight, who realizes that Sora sent Rein's group and then attacks Runa. However, Tanya protects, releases her from her captivity, and flees the scene carrying her away. After forming a temporary contract with some Arby's to act as a distraction, Rein casts Boost on Kinade, who utilizes her boosted power to defeat the Shadow Knight with a single blow. After Rein's explanation of the boost spell to Kinade, Tanya returns to them, still carrying Runa in her arms. Tanya also notes her surprise about how Rein, a pathetic smooth brain baboon, knew a powerful lost skill, but he claims everyone in his village was privy to it. As Runa awakens, Rein informs her that Sora had asked them to rescue her, making Runa feel relieved. Afterward, Runa embraces Sora, and the two thank Rein's group for their actions. We see a concerned look on Runa about a not-so-innocent thought about Rein and Sora's reprimanding of her sister, causing Rein to realize that they are polar opposites. Although Kinade had hoped Sora and Runa would return to their village, Sora notes that since Runa had been abandoned by their own people, she wants to distance herself from there, having no place to go or adequate knowledge of the outside world. Kinade invites the fairies to join them. Rein allows it and forms a contract with the two. Later that day, Rein meets the heroes' party so he could finish the quest to find and give to them the Shield of Truth, while his party secretly watches. However, Arios is shocked at how it took Rein's group 2 days to retrieve the shield, and yet his own group spent 2 weeks with no success. With Arios refusing to acknowledge the Shield of Truth was real, Rein suggests his group examine its authenticity. Mina casts an appraisal on it, and reveals that it is the genuine article, which shocks everyone in her party, and Arios notices the 2 new faces in Rein's party. Not wanting to create a scene where 2 fairies are in a human settlement, Rein demands his quest reward, and is given his reward: 20 gold coins. Before Rein could once again sever ties with the hero's party, Agath stops him and asks if he'd be interested in rejoining the party. Despite Arios' agitation over the offer, Agath came to realize that the team's apparent idiocy was due to them being without Rein's support. Mina and Leanne both reluctantly agree with Agath's suggestion and ask if Rein would accept his offer. However, Rein refuses as he's content with his current life. Once Rein had left, Agath, Mina, and Leanne all show their disdain for Rein refusing their offer, but Arios, who was still embittered by his defeat against Rein, has him agitated about who he vows to eliminate. Elsewhere, underneath a tree, Rein explains to his party about the legend of the first hero who defeated the Demon King. Apparently, only one with blood of the gods can be the hero and have unrestrained potential called Limit Break to be capable of defeating the Demon King. Arios is fairly weak compared to Rein, and Sora notes that he could be the real hero, going on to explain his accomplishments by taming everyone in his party. Kinade then suggests that Rein should tame more of the ultimate species, which would grant him enough power to defeat the Demon King, and Tanya concurs. On the other hand, Rein declines, noting the responsibilities, and how he's only managed to achieve everything thus far thanks to their support. Rein doesn't completely dismiss the idea, as it's far too early to decide on such an endeavor. The others, understanding of Rein, tell him to take his time to decide what he wants to do, while Kinade assures Rein that they will always be by his side. One bright and sunny morning, Rein awakens on the floor of his room, and hopes a free room becomes available soon as his party sleeps on the beds. Enjoying breakfast outside, Rein and his party discuss purchasing equipment for him for the journeys ahead, and Rein agrees with it. While walking down the streets of the town, Runa and Sora are alert of the people figuring out that they're fairies. This changes after Rein assures them that they'll be fine, and after witnessing the interactions between Kinade and Tanya with some familiar faces. However, when a few children approach them, the girl from the group notes that Runa and Sora are Rein's new wives, which annoys the heck out of Mummy Sora. Also, Runa nearly reveals she's a fairy by casting magic, only to be stopped by Rein and Sora. Afterward, the group heads to a weapon store and is greeted by its rough and gruff dwarven owner, Gantz, who suggests they pick out a weapon of their choosing. Rein checks out a dagger and notes the odd feeling it projects. A male customer enters the store wanting the store's best sword, and Gantz picks one out for the customer who purchases it. Once the customer left, Rein confronted Gantz about how all his weapons were of poor quality, and the owner confirmed it. Runa and Sora then belittle Gantz as a petty swindler, but he stands up for himself and shows them his best weapons for sale. When asked why he sold his last customer a paltry weapon, Gantz claims it was a test of gumption with weaponry. Furthermore, Gantz explains that most customers waste swords and toss them away when a newer model is released, which would damage his blacksmith spirit. Tanya then has a reciprocating moment with Gantz about their mutual ideals. Once that was settled, Gantz asked how Rein knew his weapons were different. Rein then details his experience as a beast tamer, which relied on astute observation of animals, and would unconsciously observe his surroundings. Impressed by Rein's surprisingly intelligent explanation, Gantz agrees to make a custom weapon for him. However, he lacks the materials to do it. Eventually, the group head to the Adventurers Guild, where a large group of adventurers surrounds the bulletin board. Natalie informs them that Arios was in Horizon, seeking to recruit new support members. The news doesn't hamper Rein's mood since he is a perpetually happy puppy, and he introduces Runa and Sora to Natalie. Runa alludes to Natalie that her relationship with Rein is deeper than a natural one, shocks her, making Rein disconcerted and trying to explain things properly. Progressing things, Rein submits a formal quest from Gantz, requesting mithril ore. A flashback reveals that the ore may be located in a depleted mine Gantz inherited from his family. Getting assured and pepped by his team, Rein agrees to search Gantz's mine for the ore, and the two formally introduce themselves to each other. When inquired about how much gold he'd like to receive for the quest, Rein requests a new weapon be made instead, which elates Gantz. En route to their destination, Runa and Sora become exhausted by the long trek because of their lack of stamina. Hence, Rein locates a nearby lake, allowing his teammates to take a refreshing bath there. He also tempts a couple of squirrels to watch the ladies and notify him if any trouble arises. However, as Rein takes a rest, he hears Kanad scream, rushes to their location, and learns a fish has bitten Kanad's tail. Rein realizes that he had accidentally seen the girls naked, causing them to scream in embarrassment. The situation causes Sora to become perturbed, and Rein acts remorseful for his actions. However, he's forgiven by Tanya and Kanad, who brush it off. They know Rein is a full-time virgin and would never lustfully gaze at them, though they jokingly suggest reversing the roles so they can see him naked to even the score, which he, of course, turns down. Upon reaching their destination, Rein suggests they stand to watch close by to the mine's entrance to see if his theory of thieves stealing from the mine is true. A hawk starts circling and shrieks, making pathetic little Rein gasp, and a couple of thieves exit the mine, demanding that whoever is out there show themselves. Left with no choice but to fight, Rein suggests they beat them and question them after. However, Tanya and Kanade knock the two men unconscious. Hence, Sora and Runa use their magic to peer into the thieves' minds to figure out their motives. They learn that Rein's theory was true, and that the thieves are associated with 5 other adventurers within the mine. To make matters worse, Rein suspected that one of the adventurers was a beast tamer from the hawk he spotted, was acting as a lookout. Inside the mithril mines, the thieves inside are alerted by their comrade's defeat by the group's beast tamer, who vows to avenge them. Walking through a tunnelway within the cave, Rein's party is then ambushed by 4 adventurers who are quickly dealt with: Runa, Sora, Tanya, and Kanade. With only the beast tamer left, Rein faces off against him and his B-ranked monster Behemoth. Despite being a difficult monster to tame, the beast tamer boasted that he raised it from its childhood, which circumvented the prerequisites of taming it. Rein's fight against the Behemoth causes the mine to shake and crumble. Hence, Kanade and the others take the captured thieves outside for their safety. However, Kanod returns inside the cave to assist Rein by capturing the beast tamer as he handles the Behemoth. Although Kanade restrains the beast tamer, he constricts his stubborn head and refuses to surrender, and has his Behemoth continue his rampage. So, Rein overwrites the Behemoth's contract, which causes its original owner to provoke it, forcing Rein to reluctantly cast a fireball to defeat it. Outside the mine, it is revealed that the thieves were out for revenge against Gantz for selling them inferior weapons. This is later relayed to Gantz, who feels remorseful about his judgmental attitude toward the customers he had deemed unworthy of his finer craft. Gantz claims his actions make him a failure as a craftsman, and Rein agrees, but asks that he make amends by pouring his soul into weapon making again. Moved by Rein's words, Gantz promises to deal honestly with his customers and weapons again. To start his new endeavor, Gantz asks what kind of weapon Rein wants, and he answers he'd like a new dagger and gauntlet. Meanwhile, Arios and Mina, close by, reject an applicant for the beast tamer job they posted, citing his pathetic inadequacy and utter lack in skill for taming an ultimate species. As Arios laments over another failed applicant, Mina internally reflects on how Arios failed another worthy applicant because they didn't match Rein's caliber. Worried that their stalling hinders their responsibility for defeating the Demon King, Mina asks Arios if he'd amend the criteria for the job post. Mina's suggestion gets an apprehensive response from Arios, so she backtracks it, noting her holy vow to God to follow the hero, and leaves it at that. Alone, Arios pulls a cursed ring from his desk and plans to use it to get revenge against Rein. The following day, Rein visits the Adventurers Guild and learns the ore thief's fate from Natalie, which disheartens him. Exiting the guild, Rein details the news to Runa and Sora, who console the dispirited Rein. Thankful for their kind words, Rein suggests they take a walk before returning home, and they happily agree. Walking down the town street, Rein purchases hot dogs for them all, and Runa and Sora enjoy them. After they're done eating, Runa and Sora ask Rein if he has obtained any special skills or abilities by forming a contract with them. However, Rein was uncertain if he did or not, which makes the puppy-eyed Runa and Sora saddened, but they believe Rein could have obtained ultimate magic, which is greater than advanced or epic magic. Once again though, Rein didn't know if he had obtained any new spells, causing Runa and Sora to feel even more depressed. Rein then cheers up Runa and Sora by telling them he doesn't care if they give him new skills or abilities and appreciates their company. The compliment perplexes Runa and Sora, as their village once abandoned them and as of now, have yet to display any notable accomplishments since joining his party. Asking why Rein still treats them with dignity and respect, he answers that the lack of trust in his former party caused his expulsion. Hence, Rein wanted to learn from his mistakes and build trust with his new party. Pleased by Rein's answer, they decide to get more hot dogs, but are stopped by a man who thinks he's Gojo's daddy, accompanied by 2 guards who demand Runa and Sora's names. The pompous man's presence alerts the crowd, and after the fairies give their names, he proclaims he'll make them his. Thanks for joining us on another adventure, my fellow weebs. If you enjoyed this episode of Weeb Toons, make sure to smash that like button and leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel.